All right, I'm going to go ahead and hit record. So unless you have any more questions about that promo thing we just talked about, you can go ahead.
I'm just going to say hi. This is Samira Khan from localgal.com.
And you are listening to Jeff Smith.
And you're listening to... gotcha.
So anytime you're ready, go for it. Okay, go.
Hello there. This is Samira Khan from localgal.com. And you are listening to Jeff Smith on Vroom Vroom Veer. How's that?
Really good. And I like it that you decided to start smiling.
Yeah.
You sound so much, everybody sounds better when they smile, right? You can hear a smile.
I know, right? That's true.
That was great. Thank you very much. Okay. I'm going to hit stop. I'm going to make a new file and then we'll start the show. I'll be right back.
Are you ready to thoughtfully steer away from your revved up, frenzied, and far too often scripted life? Then welcome to Vroom Vroom Veer with Jeff Smith, where he guides you down the road differently traveled by sharing unique experiences with guests who have managed to shift away from a life stuck on cruise control and veered their way into a more authentic and fulfilling one in all sorts of interesting and kind of remarkable ways. Get ready to Vroom Vroom Veer with your differently traveled road chauffeur, Jeff Smith.
Tate, welcome back to Vroom Vroom Veer, and thanks for being here. How's it going?
Great, Jeff. Man, it's good to hear your voice and see you. Well, I'm not seeing you, but yeah, it's good to be back. Always good to be back.
We should turn on the camera, and then we can see each other. Maybe after the show, we'll say we'll wave to each other on the video. That's
right.
Zoom is a big thing now in the world.
It is.
Anyway,
yeah.
So you've got a new book. So roll up your sleeves. It's the new book, and it's coming out Tuesday. Wow. Talk a little bit about what you're most excited about with your book launch here.
Yeah. Well, the book is Roll Up Your Sleeves, Leading and Living in a World of Constant Change. And my book was actually, the publisher had set the date for November the 11th this year.
Right.
And after the election and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And then this happened that we're in right now,
Boom.
This pandemic thing, and they call and say, we need to get this thing out now because this is exactly what people are going through and need some help and guidance and how to deal with
change.
What happens, change that comes. So, that kind of, it's coming out tomorrow, so that's good. And not exactly prepared for all that, but we're getting it together. We do have books printed, which is good.
Yeah.
So they're out, but so the roll up your sleeves is kind of a metaphor in the book about how we deal with change, because one of the main points of the book is there's a difference between change and transition.
Okay,
that's the key point. That is, change is an event; it's what happened to you. Transition are the three phases of emotions we all go through when change hits, and people don't realize that that's just part of the natural progress of going through, resisting and shock and denial and getting sick and exploring new ideas. And then the third one is committing to going forward, which you always know when you're there because you begin to be thankful again. Those are just that's we call them the waves of emotion. And I've kind of raised people awareness of that to go, like, if you have a change, even a good one,
right.
This is the path you'll follow. You'll follow these waves. And if you know that, you can be kinder to yourself.
Yeah.
As you go through that and not beat yourself up. And so that's the point of the book. And it helps leaders of companies realize, too, that when they experience a major change or a new initiative or whatever, they need to have a transition plan rather than walking out and announcing we're fixing to change this whole thing or merge with somebody or come back to work again after 2 months of being off. You need to have something that helps people get through that emotional piece so they can get back fully to work. And as we say, roll up your sleeves all the way up and get going again. So
this has been a real interesting time for everybody, I think, but you're right. We were talking about, before the show, how I was in the Air Force and about planning and how I don't know. I was real confused until some officer planning guy, right, that I was working with explained to me what planning actually is, right? Up until then, I thought what most people think. It's like what we're going to do. Not really, right?
Yeah.
No,
right.
Not really, right? But it's so important to do it because what we were saying is it's actually organizing your thoughts and writing them down and trying to figure out what you want to do and how you're going to do it.
Yeah.
But not as soon as you start executing, you're going to have to change that, obviously. But that's okay. The important thing is doing it.
Yep. And like we talked about that, my Alfred E. Newman Mad Magazine said most people don't know what they want, but they're pretty sure they don't have it. And we want to. And so that's my first book, The White Shirt, was about getting clear on what you want and having conversations with people about that. And it leads you to your next career. Right. But the whole piece of it is getting clear on what you want, because you told me about how you found your job or how your job found you through your faith and your trust and a God that kind of runs things, and you say what you want and providence sets in so many of the times, and most people don't really have that. It's not about the plan, it's the process of planning that makes. And so you're writing the first book about finding your ideal career, The White Shirt. Right. Now the point is now that you got that career, but it's not going to stay there. It's going to change.
That's
and so
true.
That's how our next one to roll up your sleeves and get going, and how you do that. So.
And I like the way you've written the book. I don't think, they're both basically the continuation of a parable, which is kind of a fun way of reading what's supposed to be a business book, which is good. That it makes it fun. And then, your character, the bad guy, is it Shadan? Shadan. Yeah. Shadan sounds just like the way he talks sounds like, every government employee ever. Me included.
It was so easy to come up with. You always have to have the other guy. His name was Gaul in the first book, and he was creepy. But this Shadan's a slimy guy.
He's slimy.
For sure.
Yes, he's slimy.
He just tries to destroy everything, and the four guys come in and pull it out at the end, and
of course
it always happy ending.
Right.
And it was people ask me why I use parables, because they're fun to write. I mean, it's like, I know these guys, and they ask me how I write the book, and I really don't know. I just get them started and they start doing this stuff.
Right. And, you just say, well, what would this guy say?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, in writing, it's just, it's like they just have a life of their own, and so it's the same four guys who kind of found their career. Now they realize everything's changing and they have to go and they have and so they learn. So at the end, I don't do rules or principles in my book. I always do observations and questions. So they make 10 observations, which probably is way too many. But,
that's okay. Whatever it takes.
Yeah. So they make those observations and they share them at the end. And the book is actually, is written for business leaders to lead their people in their business through changes. It's all written from that perspective. But everyone who's already pre-read it has said it's helped them a lot with their own life, because, we all go through a divorce or a loss or a death or even a positive change like having a baby or getting married. That's even illustrated in the book too, about how those changes, we still go through these emotions. And if we understand them, we can help ourselves. And one of the main principles in the book, though, is that helping another person through their transition or their struggle is the best way to get through yours.
That's so true. I was just thinking that.
Yeah. So we're all born not to be served, but to serve. And when you get in that mode and you see these people during this pandemic helping everyone, those are the people that get through it and don't get sick and all that kind of stuff. So that's one of the main things that is work.
Yes.
Yeah. Just, there's no, this book, I think, is just a book of good reminders that your mama or your daddy or somebody told you or your grandpa years ago.
Right.
It's not a clinical approach to stress. I want to stress that, to say this is a non-scientific non-validated approach to.
Right.
But it's come through 25 years of me watching people do this and listening to my mom and my dad, my grandpa, and those smart leaders I've been around for the past 20 years, my class who taught me more than I probably taught them. So that's what I'm just trying to share some of this back to help people realize that what you're feeling is okay. It's just knowing how to move forward that this book helps you do.
My wife just got off the phone. I think it was a couple days ago, maybe last weekend. So one of her girlfriends who lives in Tucson is stressing out. And I think everybody's stressing out, right? But to your point, right? Okay, so her husband lost her job right before the pandemic, right? It was one of those things that they saw coming quite, they had a lot of good notice because he was working on an Air Force contract there at the Air Force Base in Tucson. And they were like, hey, we're transitioning from contract maintenance back to Air Force blue suit maintenance. You know, they're going to use active duty guys to do the maintenance. So they gave them plenty of lead time to go out and start doing their job search. Yeah. Still stressful, right? You don't, you don't need any wisdom to know that changing a job is stressful for everybody all the time, every time. And then so he's home and bored. And then their son just graduated high school in a pandemic, right? So they're like, ugh, now what do we do? Pile on, there's some extra stress, and she's just like, I don't know what to do. And she's just, going buggy, right? And I'm like, yeah, well, you know what? The world is piling on everybody right now. Everybody needs to be a little bit more, what's the word? Nice to themselves and others right now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. My book starts out with a story about one of the reasons I was headed to a client driving down one day, and I got a call, and the CEO said, we had somebody in our company whose son was killed yesterday. Can you talk to our people about it? And I'm going, I'm not a psychologist or a preacher.
Right.
And I said, sure. So I did. I got there, so instead of Googling, what do you say to people when somebody died and they don't know what to say to them when they get back from work and they walk in the door? I called some friends of mine who have been through this. And so what I did, I got up in front of the group and I just said, guys, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a counselor. But I just want to ask you a question. I know about your buddy and I know about his son, and he died, and it's terrible. And you guys are going like, what do you say when he comes back in? They're all nodding. Yeah, we don't know. And I said, so have you ever been through this before? Have you ever had a loss in your life? And they all, of course, nodded. And I said, so what did people say that was helpful? What did people say that was not helpful to you? And we just listed them on the board. They knew what to do, but being in this shock, they didn't know what to do. So they came up with, well, we probably shouldn't offer them any advice. We should never say we know how you feel.
Right.
What should you say? And I said, what helped you? Well, they said, well, people just listened to me. They didn't comment. They just sat and said, I'm here for you. And I said, I think you just gave yourself your prescription. And so that, that's kind of the approach of the book, is to realize we do really know what to do if we just sit and think about it. And this book kind of helps you with that. And, and years ago, I was in outplacement. That's how, which is, congratulations, you're fired. Here's my, I walked in the room.
Wow.
And, yeah. And that's where kind of my understanding of what change does to people.
Right.
That's kind of changes. And so what I would always do was, my little book, I have these waves of emotions that I draw that's in the book. And,
right. I saw those pictures and you did a good job.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I told you anyway, well, they look at least as good as a 6th or 7th grader drew them. But I draw that out, and I would sit down with those guys. They were all men in their 40s who lost their jobs, of course, 40 to 50, lost their jobs. And I would, after I talked with them and met with their wives and their families, and I had their own, I met with them, kind of went alongside of them as they found their way. I would pull out that wave of change. It says, here's the change: shock, denial, anger, sadness, depression, bargaining, acceptance. Where are you right now? and they would mark it on the line.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
I said, where were you yesterday? I was over here. So, and all of a sudden they went, oh my gosh, this is just what happens. I said, this is just what happens. You are going to get angry. You are going to get depressed. You're going to get sick. You'll get sick about 2 weeks out. That's what usually happens when you lose something big like that.
Right.
And they go, man, okay. So I said, it's okay. Just ride it through here. We'll start working on stuff. But that was where this originally, this idea that I realized that there is a natural way that we go through transition, and it's different change. And so anyway, that's I just hope it helps a few people. You write books, and there's like a zillion and one chance my book will ever be a bestseller. I'll ever make any money for it, and I knew that going in.
Sure.
I'm just hoping that somebody can pick it up who's like your friend, who's sitting there going, why am I feeling this way? Well, it's because that's the way you feel, but there are some ideas of ways to get through it. And one of the main things to realize is counseling, self-counseling doesn't work. That's my another principle.
I like that. You're right. You're right. You need to talk to somebody. Right.
Right. You are your worst counselor.
Right. You're your own Shaddam. Right. Could be.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, he is the worst.
That's that voice that you really shouldn't be listening to.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, because it's kind of like in business. If you go alone, if you go do stuff yourself or go alone, you go fast. But if you want to go far, you do it with somebody else. And one of the principles in the other book was, two are better than one, because if one falls down, another there to pick you up. That's Ecclesiastes, of course. And it's the theme all the way through the book is read the book with a friend, talk about it.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
That's kind of my, all my books are designed to be read with a friend. And so anyway, but one of the interesting things I think you might enjoy hearing was all my research for doing this book came from such deep places as I was in a Hampton Inn one morning going down to breakfast. And I walked down there, and they have little signs sitting around with sayings on them, like chalkboards. People write thoughts. And the sign said, everyone has unseen battles they are fighting. Be kind.
Oh, that's a good one. Yes. That's one of my favorites. I remember that. I think that was how you ended the book.
That's how I end the book.
Yeah. And that was like, I think it's so simple.
Yeah.
But I mean, it applies to every time you catch yourself being a little bit jerky. Yeah, I was trying to come up with the word. Thanks. When you're about to be a Shadansky.
There you go.
There you go. Right. That guy that cuts you off. Right. And you just go off with a big old line of expletives. And it's all that guy's fault. Right. Yeah. And we've all done that. We're all human, right? In the moment, it's kind of hard not to do those things because you have the emotion, right?
Yep.
But if you take that breath and go, I don't know what's going on in that guy's life today.
Yeah.
If we can just find that space, right? Yeah. And just have that thought, now they're probably not as bad. They're probably not as Shadan as we think. Shadan? Am I saying it wrong?
Yeah. And even like, you're in the grocery store and some kids crying and screaming, and you think, what's wrong with those parents?
Right.
And when you do it to it, they just got back from their appointment. The kids has cancer or something. I mean, stuff you just, we just make so many prejudgments. It's just kind of natural to do. But, the everyone has unseen battles they are fighting, be kind. But as you turn the next page of the book, on the last page, it says, everyone has unseen battles they are fighting, be kind, but speak truth. That's the ending of the book, that we need to be kind, but also sometimes some people need to know the truth. I was talking to an HR director a few minutes ago that I'm working with, and we talked about this. She said, I have to discipline people. And I can do it as a jerk, but I can do it with kindness. So I need to tell them the truth, but I need to be kind. So that's kind of a balancing grace with accountability. The book's really the three kind of the underlying themes of the book is about kindness and truth together, a balance of kindness and truth. That's the secret to moving through transition. Those two beatitudes from the.
That's great. Yeah.
So anyway, yeah.
No, it's perfect. You're right.
Yeah,
there's no, free lunch, right? But you don't have to be jerky.
Yeah.
Right.
And we can be too kind, and we can be too truthful.
Right.
Yeah, because if you're just kind all the time, you never tell anybody the truth, and that nothing happens. There's no helpfulness. So anyway,
you're right.
Yeah,
you're not getting through it. You're just sort of ignoring it at that point.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And to realize that everybody has a different personalities too, how you move through. I just think about me. I'm not very good at this either, and that's why I write the book. I think you teach what you most need to learn. So that's kind of why I do this, because even in this time of this pandemic that's happened, when it first happened, I did what we call in this work the Tarzan swing. It happened, and I said, I have decided not to participate in this.
I was there with you. I think I did the same thing. Yeah.
And I said,
I think I went through the stages, I think, too. Right.
Yeah. I did, but they weren't in order. And that's kind of the point was I did the Tarzan swing from, it happened. I'm okay.
Right.
And now on Monday last week, I got so discouraged. I called some people. I said, I don't know what happened was I tried to jump over all that emotion, and now you will always go through it, and usually at the most inopportune time.
Right. Whenever you find yourself in avoidance mode, that's when you're gonna crash on a veer, I think. But I don't know how to necessarily navigate that in the moment. I think we're all probably going to go through those swings. I think when this first kicked off, I think me, like a lot of people, were just really afraid, right?
Yeah,
just afraid. Like, oh my God, when are the zombies coming? When are people going to start beating on my door, wanting me for my food or whatever? It's just like it's the end of the world panic kind of thing, right? Oh my God, we can't get toilet paper. What are we gonna do? We had. We all went through those emotions, right?
Sure.
It happens.
And so that happened. I get on Amazon and ordered 84 rolls of toilet paper.
Wow.
You know when they showed up? Yesterday.
Oh my God. When you don't need them.
Yeah. We gave them all to my wife. So we got to get that. So I get online and order that. And I think, we're going to, I really wanted to be able to share it with people too. Cause I have older friends,
Sure.
But it shows up, right as it ends. We're all back in Alabama today. They opened everything up.
Really?
You can go anywhere and do anything.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're done. Nice.
So the day that we open it up, I get my toilet paper.
That's perfect. That's the perfect expression of the Tarzan swing right there.
Oh God, is it ever?
But I think, you were probably better prepared for, fear land or pandemic land. Because right at the beginning, I want to say probably maybe the first part of March, I decided for the first time in my life that I really needed to have a firearm in the house. You already did because, I see you've got like shotguns with birdshot and, bird dogging all the time. I'm not much of a hunter, and I've been like moving around in the Air Force for so long. I never got around to buying a gun. Right. Now I've shotguns a lot.
Yeah.
Used to hunt deer. Right. I just never felt the need to have one in the house for home protection.
Yeah.
Until the beginning of March.
Sure.
So that was a whole thing that I had to go through. And I ended up getting a small little handgun, and I haven't touched it since I bought it. But it's just those things that we go through when we're really scared, We do weird, scary things.
Yeah. That's for sure. Well, anyway, so I hope, I'm talking with a lot of my organizations during this time too. You know, I had all this business booked, and it all got canceled, of course. But still, staying in touch with those folks and kind of helping them think through what to do and talk through, because most of them are worried about the business, but they really hadn't really thought a whole lot about the people. And so, giving them some questions to ask and helping everybody, kind of understand that we're all going to go through this thing at our own pace. You really can't
and everybody's different too. Yeah,
they are. Yeah. And my last principle in my book, and I'm not going to go through all 10 because it would just be way too boring.
Not boring, but maybe too long.
Too long.
Too long.
The last principle in the book is the one that runs true throughout, which is pray first. Before life gives you more than you can stand, kneel. The more you kneel along. I wrote this it actually rhymes. I was real proud of it. The more you kneel along the way, the easier you'll stand the test today.
That's pretty good.
That's kind of corny, but
it works.
Yeah, because you can remember it. So, and of course, that's you and I share that kind of understanding and concept of life that we're really not in control here,
right?
And if we can just understand that there is a plan and a purpose, it helps, and to stay in touch with the spiritual side is really what gets us through everything. So,
that's true. I kind of got upset about the whole idea that church is not mission essential. I don't like that. But I understand it. I get it. But I think my mom and dad, they were watching church on Facebook. Video streams. I think that's what most people were doing. When in a lockdown, it's probably the way to go. But the whole idea that it's not mission essential, it is. You can be mission essential and not be able to do it, I think,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, me too. But I mean, I get it. There's a lot of people that are really afraid.
Right.
And but I don't want to get into my political views here. We need to stay away from all that. So
pray first is a good, for sure.
Pray first. Yeah. And I'm not talking about church. I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about spirituality. And having been a professional religious leader before in my past, I was a church administrator and ran churches. There is a difference between religion and God, and you need to make sure you know where you stand and what that means. And so it's important to gather. I mean, essential to gather as believers, but your own personal relationships, the one that makes the most difference. And just to remember, and I think the pandemic's helped. I mean, I think there's a lot of more attention to the spiritual side of things now. This has made people stop and think and have to spend time alone and think. And we don't, in a way, there's a benefit that comes from that, having a season
so many silver linings, I think.
Yep.
Right. And this is the first time I've been able to express this thought to another human. But are you familiar with FOMO? Fear of missing out, right?
Yep, I am.
Well, this pandemic is everybody's missing out on everything and there's nothing to miss out on. Right? You see movie stars taking care of their kids at home and on Zoom, is like, okay, equal playing field. We're all the same. It's brutally obvious now that, right? And
then what your dad said, everybody puts their pants on the same way.
It's true.
It's true.
It's true. But I just like it because it's now undeniable, I think, because you're seeing it. It's just like, and then I think FOMO probably went away. How can you miss out on anything when nobody can go anywhere? Which, nobody talks about, right? That's a really good silver lining to lockdown, right? Right. But there's more too, if we stop and think about it, there are a lot of silver linings.
There are. Yeah. I'm glad they're starting to talk about some of those now that we can get the news media on something else. So as we say, whatever you focus on expands. So I think it's time to focus on something else, like the next big good thing. the promised land. That's in the book, the problem in the book, is based on a biblical storyline of the Exodus.
Okay. Oh, nice.
And we talk about, there's a promised land, and the problem right now is we can't see the promised land.
Right.
That is the big deal. And somebody's got to paint a picture of that. And I know for however you feel about the president, he is trying to push us to some kind of promised land, no matter what it is about. I want to be at the ball game in the fall. Give us something, man.
Right. Right.
Give us something that we can go towards rather than
a vision.
Whining and complaining like all the other folks get paid to do. And anyway, sorry. But yeah, we need, without a promise, a vision, we need something to hang on to and move to. And so I applaud him. And I'm in Alabama. We have a governor, Kay Ivey. She's about 85 years old. She's like your grandmother. She is the best leader I've ever known. She was on the TV yesterday saying what we're going to do next. She said, we're opening it up. And all these people were saying, but the numbers aren't flat yet. She said, listen, we have to live. What is life if you're sitting home all the time? We've got to live with this and take personal responsibility for this. We cannot control and govern this thing and set the rules. We think you're smart enough to figure it out. We're telling you be cautious. We're going to open up and trust that you people are smart enough to figure it out yourself.
Right.
And I thought, oh my God.
Somebody finally said it.
Somebody finally said it. Yeah. Because she doesn't care. She's 85. She's not going back in office.
Well, the thing, I get it. But it's somebody in the beginning. See, so like when people are talking in public now, right?
Yeah. Right.
In the beginning of the pandemic, we had this very long polite stage. If you know what a polite stage is, where the rules of what can be said and can't be said are very tight, right? In the polite stage. Yeah. And everybody's thinking things like, driving to work is risky. We do it every day, right? But a new risk is scarier than a known risk.
Right.
And you can't say these things in the polite stage. I think we're coming out of the polite stage and we can say things now. Right.
Yeah. The fear of consequences is often worse than the consequences.
Right.
And that's and I was kind of been there the whole time, and my wife won't let me out in the public for what things I say about this. And so funny, Jerry Seinfeld was on Sunday morning this week. I lit that show, and he was saying, what this coronavirus, he said, well, as we say in the show business, Corona just got a big break. And I was going, what? He said, it got real popular because it was the way they named it, the way they rolled it out. He said, man, I wish I could get a break like that. in essence, he kind of went, the truth was this, this was bad. It wasn't polio. And it's something that, we could have lived with in a different way. And, but anyway, it was just so funny to hear him speak that out to, Corona.
Right. It got
a big break.
Yeah.
And not to belittle what's happening, but I mean, it is really blown out of proportion. So,
yes.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get to some, it's a new normal, but I don't think normal is going to be normal everywhere for a while. Now, you're lucky there in Alabama, so that's good because you're getting closer anyway.
We're getting, and everybody moved that way. And it's still not, going out and, I mean, they still have distancing, in the restaurants and all that kind of stuff, and all the venues.
But it's as normal is going to get for a while. Yeah.
Right. It's like we need to live with this because we can't avoid it for the rest of our lives. That's the point.
Right.
Otherwise, what are you doing?
Yeah, you're not living. Yeah. And if you're not getting busy living, you're doing something else. There's something there. I only said half.
Well, well, man, we're solving all the world's problems here. We'll probably get in a lot of trouble when this thing comes out.
Probably.
Anyway.
But we're having fun.
But my book does come out tomorrow, and I know that's what we're hoping everybody can take a look at it, and hope it's something that'll help some folks. So,
as we wrap it up, let's talk a little bit about where people can get in touch with you. How can they find the book?
Yeah. So you can get in touch with me at michaelallentate.com. That's Michael, ALAN.
That's Alan, right?
Oh, yeah, don't say that. Yeah, it is michaelallentate.com.
You started it.
I know I did.
I'm just teasing.
The books there, the books also rollupsleeves.com. But Amazon, Barnes & Noble, local booksellers, I would prefer you contact your local booksellers rather than going the other way, but I know most of us order from Amazon.
Right.
It's on there. It releases. It'll be, like I said, tomorrow. So if you it's kind of late notice to pre-order, but yeah, so you can get it there. And, I think it's a good, a lot of companies have ordered this to use with their people as they come back in to sit and just read and talk about the process of transition, because people need to talk about it. Nobody knows how to talk about it. So the book's actually a tool to help people talk about the transition part as they come back in. That's why we released it so soon.
Yeah, it's perfect timing.
Smart. So that's how you can get in touch with me. Also, I have a podcast. It's called Small Time Leaders.
Oh, neat.
It's a 10-minute podcast where accomplished business people come on and talk about people who did small things that changed their lives forever. Those people they encountered in their lives that changed them. So 10 minutes, easy to listen to. If you don't like it, it won't last too long, as we say. So it's a
That's good.
But
I like
small time leaders, that's all on michaelallentate.com. You can see those podcast links there, and I have a blog and all that kind of stuff.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
This has been a blast.
It has been.
Yeah. And I think we did solve the world's problems. Everybody just,
honestly say I've never had, every time I go with you, I've never had an interview like that before.
It's not an interview. We're just chatting.
I know. Yeah. And that can be dangerous sometimes.
Yeah. We probably got ourselves in trouble, but we had fun doing it.
We did. And that's all that matters. Maybe
there you go.
Maybe that we'll cause some big, riff out there, and as P.T. Barnum says, I don't care what you say about me, just spell my name right. Yeah. So.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's like taking a page of Madonna marketing, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Just create controversy. See what happens. All right. I'm Mike. I'm going to call you Mike because your friends call you Mike.
Please.
You have a good day, and let me know before the next book comes out, preferably, sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
And we'll have you back, and we'll get in more trouble.
That sounds like a plan. And you're going to be, and by the way, you're going to be on my podcast, so we'll let your listeners know about that too when that comes out. So,
yeah. I'm going to have to think real hard because the people that come to mind immediately, I don't know their names. Is that okay?
It doesn't matter. Sometimes people don't use names because they don't really want to say.
Right. Okay. Perfect. Because I have two good stories of people maybe one very long story, and then I'll have to think about the second one because there's a guy. Yeah, it'll be fun. I might try to sneak 3 in, maybe. I don't know.
So, I've got all that covered.
Okay,
anyway,
great,
man. Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you, Mike. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for taking the time to ride along with us on another episode of Vroom Vroom Veer. For podcast info and show notes, be sure to head over to vvveer.com. That's VVER.com. Man, that's fun to say. And we'll catch up with you next time here on Vroom Vroom Veer.